When my 8-year-old daughter, Meadow, stood up in that courtroom and asked if she should tell the judge what her father made her delete from his phone, I watched my ex-husband's face drain of all color. His expensive lawyer, Mr. Fordham, who seconds earlier had been destroying my character with the confidence of a man who'd already won, suddenly looked like he'd swallowed glass. The courtroom was packed that September morning. Family court proceedings aren't usually this crowded, but Garrett had made sure everyone knew about this hearing. He wanted witnesses to my humiliation. He'd invited his business partners, his golf buddies, even some parents from Meadow's school. They all sat behind him like a personal cheering section, ready to watch him take everything from me. My side of the courtroom had only 3 people. My mother, Iris, who'd driven 4 hours to be here despite her bad hip, my lawyer, Ms. Quinley, who looked exhausted before we'd even started, and me, Verona, a 34-year-old mother about to lose the only thing that mattered in my world. Garrett sat across from me in his $3,000 suit, his wedding ring replaced by a gaudy gold signet ring that screamed new money. At 36, he was what most people would call successful. Real estate developer, country club member, the kind of man who got tables at restaurants that were booked solid. Women found him charming. I used to be one of them. Mr. Fordham had just finished painting me as the worst kind of mother. According to him, I was unstable, promiscuous, and completely unfit to raise a child. Your Honor, he'd said with theatrical disgust, she sleeps around so much, she's not even sure who the father is. We have multiple witnesses who've seen different men coming and going from her apartment at all hours. What kind of environment is that for an 8-year-old girl? Judge Harmon, a stern woman in her 60s with silver hair pulled back in a severe bun, had looked at me like I was something she'd scrape off her shoe. I wanted to scream that it was all lies, that the men were my brother helping me move, my cousin fixing my broken sink, my elderly neighbor borrowing sugar for his wife's birthday cake. But Miss Quinley had grabbed my wrist under the table, her signal to stay quiet. That's when Meadow stood up. She was supposed to stay seated in the back with my mother, safely away from the ugly words being thrown around like weapons. But my little girl, all 4 feet of her, wearing the purple dress she'd picked out herself that morning, stood up with more courage than anyone else in that room. Mom, should I tell the judge what Daddy made me delete from his phone last night? The words hung in the air like a bomb about to explode. Garrett's lawyer froze mid-gesture. The court reporter's fingers stopped moving. Even Judge Harmon's expression shifted from disdain to sharp attention. Gasps rippled through Garrett's section of the courtroom. His business partner, Mr. Ashford, actually dropped his coffee cup. The parents from Meadow's school started whispering frantically. This wasn't the show they'd come to see. Garrett jumped to his feet so fast his chair scraped against the floor. She's confused, Your Honor. Children say things they don't understand. My ex-wife has obviously coached her. But Meadow wasn't looking at her father. She was looking at me, her brown eyes steady and determined, nothing like the scared little girl who'd come home from his house last night. This was my daughter, brave and true, standing up in a room full of adults who thought they knew everything. Let the child speak, Judge Harmon commanded, her voice cutting through Garrett's protests like a blade through silk. And just like that, the entire case was about to flip on its head. The man who'd orchestrated this whole performance, who'd paid for false witnesses and hired the most ruthless lawyer money could buy, was about to learn that the truth has a way of surfacing, especially when it comes from the one person he'd never expected to speak up. I never imagined I'd be sitting in a custody hearing, fighting for the right to see my own daughter. 6 months earlier, Garrett had filed for full custody, claiming I was an unfit mother. The man who once promised me the world was now trying to take away the only thing that mattered, Meadow. Our story started 12 years ago at a marketing conference in Chicago. Garrett was charming, ambitious, everything I thought I wanted. He pursued me with the kind of intensity that makes you feel like the only woman in the world. Flowers showed up at my office every Monday. He'd drive 2 hours just to have lunch with me. When he proposed after 8 months, everyone said I was the luckiest woman alive. You sure about this guy? My mother Iris had asked me the week before our wedding. We were having coffee at her kitchen table, the same one where she'd taught me to read when I was 5. There's something slippery about him, honey, like he's always performing, never genuine. Mom, you just don't know him like I do, I'd responded, showing her the massive engagement ring that I now realize was more about impressing others than expressing love. He's going to give me a beautiful life. And for a while, he did. We bought a house in the suburbs with a perfect lawn and a 2-car garage. Garrett's real estate business exploded. We joined the country club. I got pregnant with Meadow, and Garrett threw a gender reveal party that probably cost more than some people's weddings. Everyone said we were the perfect family. The cracks started showing when Meadow was 3. Garrett would say he was working late, but his clothes would smell like perfume that wasn't mine. He'd guard his phone like it contained nuclear codes. When I asked about it, he'd turn it around on me. You're being paranoid, Verona. This jealousy is really unattractive. Maybe you should talk to someone about your insecurity issues. The gaslighting was so effective that I actually started therapy, convinced I was the problem. Dr. Winters, my therapist, was the one who helped me see the pattern. Verona, she said during one session, when someone consistently makes you doubt your own perception of reality, that's not love, that's manipulation. The evidence came by accident. Garrett had left his iPad at home, still logged into his email. I was looking for Meadow's school schedule when I saw the credit card statements he'd hidden from me. Hotel charges in the middle of the day, jewelry purchases I'd never received, restaurant bills for 2 when he was supposedly at business dinners with clients. I confronted him on a Tuesday night after Meadow was asleep. He was in his home office working on another big deal. I spread the printed statements across his desk like playing cards revealing a losing hand. These are misunderstandings, he said, without even looking up from his computer. The hotels were for client meetings. The jewelry was for my mother's birthday. You're seeing things that aren't there because you want drama in your life. Your mother's birthday was 3 months ago, Garrett, and she's allergic to gold. This receipt is for gold earrings. That's when his mask finally slipped. Fine, he said, leaning back in his leather chair with a cold smile. What are you going to do about it? Leave? Take Meadow and go where? With what money? You haven't worked in 5 years. You have no savings. No court is going to give custody to an unemployed mother with mental health issues. I don't have mental health issues. You're in therapy, aren't you? That's documented, and I've been keeping track of every mistake you make with Meadow. Every time you're late for pickup. Every time you let her eat junk food. Every time you lose your temper. I have a file, Verona. I've been building it for 2 years. The revelation hit me like ice water. While I'd been trying to save our marriage, he'd been planning to destroy me. That night, I took Meadow and went to my mother's house. Garrett didn't try to stop us. He was already calling his lawyer. The divorce was brutal but quick. Garrett wanted it over before I could dig deeper into his affairs. I got minimal alimony, just enough to rent a 2-bedroom apartment in a decent school district. We agreed to joint custody, but I could see in his eyes that this was just the beginning. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I was served with papers. Garrett was seeking full custody, claiming I was an unfit mother. The man who'd seen Meadow maybe 10 hours a week during our marriage suddenly couldn't bear the thought of her living with me. It wasn't about love. It was about winning, about punishing me for daring to leave him. And now, here we were, in this courtroom, with him trying to erase me from my daughter's life completely. The custody hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning in September. Garrett had hired Fordham and Associates, the most aggressive family law firm in the state. I had Miss Quinley, an overworked public defender who, despite her best efforts, was clearly outmatched. She'd warned me during our first meeting that this would be an uphill battle. Your ex-husband has resources, she'd said, shuffling through papers in her cluttered office. He's hired private investigators, expert witnesses, even a child psychologist who's prepared to testify that children do better in homes with financial stability. We need to be prepared for them to play dirty. I just hadn't realized how dirty they'd play. The night before the hearing, Garrett had exercised his visitation rights. When he brought Meadow back at 8 o'clock, she seemed different. She walked past me without her usual hug and went straight to her room. When I followed her, I found her sitting on her bed, still wearing her coat. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" I sat beside her, noticing how she wouldn't meet my eyes. "Daddy says I should tell the judge I want to live with him," she whispered, picking at a loose thread on her purple comforter. "He says you might go away if I don't. He says you might have to move somewhere far away where I can't visit." My heart broke, but I kept my voice steady. "Meadow, listen to me. Tomorrow, the judge wants to hear the truth from you, not what Daddy wants, not what I want, but what you really think and feel. Nobody's going away, baby. I promise you that. But Daddy said if I'm good and say the right things, he'll buy me a pony and we'll go to Disney World. He let me look at pictures of the castle on his phone." "What else did you look at on his phone?" I asked, noticing how she suddenly tensed. "Nothing." "I didn't see anything else. Daddy said I didn't see anything else." That should have been my warning sign, but I was too focused on comforting her to really hear what she was saying. The next morning, the courtroom was intimidating with its dark wood panels and high ceilings that made every sound echo. Garrett sat across from me, wearing his expensive charcoal suit, looking every inch the successful, stable parent. He'd even gotten a conservative haircut for the occasion. I'd worn my only professional outfit, a navy blazer I'd bought at a thrift store and black pants that were a little too short. His side of the courtroom was packed with his supporters. My side had my mother, who kept reaching over to squeeze my hand, and Miss Quinley, who was frantically reviewing her notes one last time. Judge Harmon entered, and everyone rose. She looked like the kind of woman who'd heard every excuse, every lie, every sob story, and was thoroughly done with all of it. Her eyes swept the courtroom before settling on me with what already looked like disapproval. Mr. Fordham stood up first, his voice filling the room with practiced authority. "Your Honor, we're here today because my client, Mr. Garrett, is deeply concerned about his daughter's welfare. Miss Verona has shown a pattern of instability that makes her unsuitable as the primary custodial parent." "Objection," Miss Quinley said, but her voice sounded thin compared to Fordham's booming confidence. "That's an unfounded characterization." "I'll allow it," Judge Harmon said. "Continue, Mr. Fordham." "Thank you, Your Honor. We have evidence that Miss Verona has been unable to maintain steady employment since the divorce. She's had 3 different jobs in 6 months. She's moved twice. And most concerningly, she's exposed the child to multiple male visitors at inappropriate hours." I wanted to scream. The 3 jobs were because I was trying to find something with hours that worked with Meadow's school schedule. The moves were because the first apartment had black mold, and the second was all I could afford after Garrett mysteriously forgot to pay child support for 2 months. "Furthermore," Fordham continued, his voice getting louder and more theatrical, "we have witness statements from neighbors who report seeing different men coming and going at all hours. Your Honor, to be quite frank, she sleeps around so frequently she's not even sure who the father is. Is this the environment we want for an impressionable 8-year-old girl?" The words hit me like physical blows. The different men were my brother Holden, helping me move furniture at 10 at night because he worked during the day, my cousin Felix, who came over on a Sunday morning to fix my sink, Mr. Chen, my 70-year-old neighbor who sometimes borrowed sugar for his diabetic wife. Judge Harmon looked at me with barely concealed disgust. "These are serious allegations, Mr. Fordham. Do you have these witness statements?" "Right here, Your Honor." Fordham produced a stack of papers with a flourish. 3 separate neighbors, all reporting the same concerning behavior. I recognized one of the names immediately. Mrs. Patterson, who lived 2 doors down and had mysteriously started driving a new car last month. Another was Mr. Davies, whose son worked at Garrett's company. The third I didn't recognize at all, which meant Garrett had probably paid someone to lie completely. "Completely fabricated, Your Honor," Miss Quinley interjected, but she sounded defeated already. Garrett leaned back in his chair, that small, satisfied smirk playing at his lips that I'd learned to hate during our marriage. He'd orchestrated this perfectly, every detail planned, every lie precisely crafted to destroy me. I was about to lose everything. I could see it in Judge Harmon's expression, the way she shuffled papers with finality, the slight shake of her head as she reviewed the witness statements. Miss Quinley was frantically flipping through her notes, but we both knew we were outgunned. She'd tried her best, but public defenders don't win against Fordham and Associates. My mother grabbed my hand under the table, squeezing so hard it hurt. I could feel her trembling. She'd sold jewelry to help me pay for groceries last month, and now she was about to watch me lose Meadow anyway. The injustice of it all made my chest feel like it might explode. Fordham was still talking, each word another nail in my coffin. My client has provided a stable home environment, excellent schools, extracurricular activities, and most importantly, moral guidance that seems to be lacking in the mother's household. We request full custody with supervised visitation only, pending Ms. Verona's completion of parenting classes and psychological evaluation. Psychological evaluation, the final humiliation. Garrett knew exactly what he was doing. He'd pushed me into therapy with his gaslighting, and now he was using it as a weapon against me. That's when I heard a small voice from behind me. "Mom!" Everyone turned. Meadow had been sitting in the back row with my mother, but now she was standing, her little hands clenched at her sides. She was wearing the purple dress she'd insisted on that morning, the one with tiny butterflies on the collar that she said made her feel brave. "Young lady, please sit down," Judge Harmon said, though her voice was gentler than it had been all morning. Something about children always softened even the hardest judges. "I need to say something," Meadow said, her voice stronger than I'd ever heard it. "Mom, should I tell the judge what Daddy made me delete from his phone last night?" The courtroom went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Garrett shot up from his chair so fast it scraped against the floor with a shriek that made everyone flinch. "She's confused, Your Honor. Children say things they don't understand. My ex-wife has obviously coached her to say this." But Meadow wasn't backing down. She took a step forward, then another. "Nobody coached me." "Daddy's lying. He lies a lot." "Meadow, sweetheart, sit down," Garrett said, his voice carrying a warning that made my maternal instincts flare. "Remember what we talked about?" "Yeah, I remember," Meadow said, turning to face him directly. "You said if I didn't delete those videos and keep quiet, Mommy would go to jail and I'd never see her again. You said I'd have to live with Grandma Patricia, and she doesn't even like kids." Gasps filled the room. Garrett's business partner, Mr. Ashford, actually stood up and left. Two of the school parents started whispering frantically. This wasn't the victory celebration they'd come to witness. Judge Harmon raised her hand for silence. "Let the child speak. Come here, sweetheart." Meadow walked forward, passing her father without looking at him. She stood between the two tables, small but determined, her chin raised in a gesture I recognized as pure defiance. She got that from me. "Tell me what happened last night," Judge Harmon said, her voice kind but serious. "I was at Daddy's house for visitation," Meadow began, her words clear and careful. "He went to take a shower and left his phone on the coffee table. It kept buzzing with messages. I thought it might be Mom trying to check on me, so I looked." "What did you see?" the judge asked. "Videos. Daddy was in them with Miss Brinley, his secretary, the one who always smells like too much perfume and calls me kiddo, even though I told her I don't like it. They were doing grown-up things, kissing and other stuff I'm not supposed to see." Fordham jumped up. "Your Honor, this is hearsay, a child's imagination. Without evidence—" "There were more videos," Meadow continued, ignoring the interruption. "Daddy with Miss Jenna from his gym, and another lady I don't know with really blonde hair. All recent, all on our couch. Mom's old couch, the one she picked out when they first got married." I felt sick. That couch where I'd nursed Meadow as a baby, where we'd had family movie nights, where I'd thought we were building a life together. "When Daddy came out of the shower, he saw me with his phone," Meadow continued. "He got really mad at first, then really nice, which was scarier. He said I had to delete everything right away and never tell anyone. He said if I was a good girl and kept the secret, he'd buy me a pony and take me to Disney World. But if I told anyone, especially Mom or the judge, Mom would get in big trouble and have to go away forever." "Did you delete the videos?" Judge Harmon asked. "He made me do it while he watched." But I remembered something Mom taught me about computers. Nothing's ever really gone forever. You told me that when you were warning me about being safe online. You said even deleted things can come back. My brilliant, brave daughter. I'd given her that internet safety talk 6 months ago, never imagining it would matter in a custody hearing. "Mr. Garrett," Judge Harmon said coldly, "Do you still have this phone?" Garrett's face had gone from red to white to gray. "I want to speak to my attorney privately, Your Honor." "You'll answer the question." "Do you have the phone?" "I have the phone," Garrett admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. His hands were shaking as he reached into his suit pocket. The confident real estate developer who'd walked in here like he owned the place was crumbling before our eyes. "Bailiff, please confiscate Mr. Garrett's phone as evidence," Judge Harmon ordered. "Get our technical analyst in here immediately. Even deleted files can be recovered with the right tools." "Your Honor, this is highly irregular," Fordham protested, but even he seemed to realize the ship was sinking. His theatrical confidence had evaporated, replaced by the nervous energy of a man watching his case implode. "We need time to verify the authenticity of any supposed evidence." "What we need, Mr. Fordham, is the truth," Judge Harmon shot back, "something that seems to have been in short supply in your presentation today. Sit down." The bailiff took Garrett's phone and left the courtroom. Those next 45 minutes felt like hours. Garrett kept trying to whisper to Fordham, who kept shaking his head and pushing him away. The school parents who'd come to support him were already heading for the exits. Nobody wanted to be associated with what was coming. Meadow came to sit with me while we waited. I wrapped my arms around her, feeling her small body trembling slightly. "You did the right thing, baby," I whispered into her hair. "I was scared," she whispered back, "but I kept thinking about what you said, that the truth is always better than a lie, even when it's hard." My mother reached over and stroked Meadow's hair. "Bravest thing I've ever seen," she said quietly. "Your grandfather would have been so proud. He always said the truth has a way of coming out, usually when liars least expect it." The technical analyst returned, a young woman with glasses and a tablet in her hand. She whispered something to Judge Harmon, whose expression darkened even further. The judge reviewed the tablet for several long minutes, her face cycling through disgust, anger, and finally, cold fury. "I'll hear from the analyst now," Judge Harmon announced. The analyst took the witness stand. "Your Honor, we've recovered multiple deleted videos from the past week, all of an explicit nature, featuring Mr. Garrett and 3 different women. The metadata shows they were deleted last night at 9:47 p.m. from the main photo library." "Can you confirm the location where these videos were taken?" "Yes, Your Honor. The GPS data embedded in the files shows they were all taken at Mr. Garrett's residence. The timestamps indicate they were recorded on various dates over the past 2 months, all during times when Mr. Garrett had custody of the minor child." My stomach turned. While Meadow was in the house, while my baby was sleeping down the hall, her father was filming his affairs in the living room. "But that's not all, Your Honor," the analyst continued, swiping through her tablet. "There are also multiple text messages and emails between Mr. Garrett and Mr. Fordham discussing litigation strategy. I'll read one dated 3 days ago. "We need to destroy Verona's credibility by any means necessary. The neighbor statements are arranged. Make sure to emphasize the promiscuity angle. Judges hate loose mothers." The courtroom erupted. Miss Quinley actually smiled for the first time all day. Fordham's face had gone from white to green. "There's more," the analyst said. "Payment records showing $5,000 transfers to 3 individuals whose names match the witnesses who provided statements against Ms. Verona. The memo lines read, 'consulting fees,' but the timing suggests these were payments for false testimony." "Your Honor, I need to recuse myself," Fordham said, standing up so fast he knocked over his water glass. The liquid spread across his papers, soaking through his carefully prepared lies. "You'll do no such thing," Judge Harmon snapped. "You'll sit there while I decide whether to report you to the Bar Association for subornation of perjury and conspiracy to commit fraud upon the court." She turned to Garrett, who looked like he might faint. "Mr. Garrett, not only have you committed perjury, but you've also involved your minor child in destroying evidence, exposed her to inappropriate material, and attempted to manipulate her testimony through bribery and threats. The court finds these actions reprehensible and potentially criminal." "Your Honor," Garrett started, but she cut him off with a raised hand. "I'm granting full custody to Ms. Verona immediately with supervised visitation only for you, pending a full psychological evaluation and completion of parenting classes. The evaluation will be done by a court-appointed psychologist, not one of your choosing." She turned to me, and her expression softened considerably. "Miss Verona, I apologize for the court's initial reception of those baseless allegations. The record will reflect that you've been an exemplary mother under extraordinarily trying circumstances. Your daughter's courage today is a testament to the values you've instilled in her." Meadow ran to me, and I caught her in my arms, both of us crying now. Happy tears, relieved tears, tears that washed away months of fear and uncertainty. Behind us, my mother was wiping her eyes with a tissue, muttering something about justice finally showing up to work. "Furthermore," Judge Harmon continued, her voice carrying over the chaos, "Mr. Garrett, you'll be paying all of Ms. Verona's legal fees, both past and future, plus damages for defamation, and a substantial increase in child support retroactive to the date of separation. I'm also referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for criminal investigation into witness tampering and evidence destruction involving a minor. This court does not look kindly on attempts to weaponize the legal system against innocent parents," she said, looking directly at Garrett, "and it looks even less kindly on those who corrupt children in their schemes. 6 months have passed since that day in court, and our lives have completely transformed. Garrett is facing criminal charges for evidence tampering, witness bribery, and exposing a minor to explicit material. His real estate business collapsed when the news broke. Turns out nobody wants to buy houses from a man who tried to frame his ex-wife and manipulate his 8-year-old daughter. The country club revoked his membership. Even his golf buddies won't return his calls. Fordham lost his license to practice law. The Bar Association's investigation revealed this wasn't his first time fabricating evidence. 3 other fathers had hired him for similar smear campaigns against their ex-wives. They're all getting new trials now. Miss Quinley called it the biggest family law scandal in our state's history. But I don't care about their downfall. What matters is that Meadow is thriving. She's in therapy with Dr. Jennifer Reeves, a child psychologist who specializes in custody trauma. Your daughter has remarkable emotional intelligence, Doctor, Reeves told me last week. She understood the difference between right and wrong even when an authority figure was pressuring her. That's not just brave, Verona. That shows you've raised her with unshakable values. The therapy is helping Meadow process what she witnessed. We don't shy away from the hard conversations anymore. Last month, she asked me why Daddy did those things. I told her the truth in age-appropriate terms. Sometimes adults make selfish choices that hurt others, and when they get caught, they make worse choices trying to cover it up. "But why did he try to make you look bad, Mom?" she asked one night during dinner. "Because he thought if he made me look bad enough, nobody would believe the truth about him," I explained, setting down my fork. "It's called projection, sweetheart. When someone accuses others of exactly what they're doing themselves." My mother moved in with us temporarily to help while I went back to school. With the settlement from the defamation case, which was substantial given the evidence of malicious intent, I'm finishing my degree in social work. I attend classes during the day while Meadow's at school, and Mom picks her up in the afternoons. It's the kind of multi-generational support I never had during my marriage, when Garrett insisted we didn't need help from anyone. "You know what I love about this arrangement?" Mom said last week, braiding Meadow's hair for picture day. "We're showing her that families come in all forms. Sometimes it's a mom and a grandma raising a little girl to be strong and honest. Nothing wrong with that picture." Miss Quinley and I have become unexpected friends. She left public defense after our case and started her own practice focused on helping women in custody battles who can't afford good representation. I was her first pro bono case when she opened her doors. "Your case changed my entire career path," she told me over coffee last week at the small cafe near her new office. "I realized how many women are getting steamrolled by ex-husbands with deep pockets and no conscience. Meadow's courage that day reminded me why I became a lawyer in the first place." She's already helped 12 women keep custody of their children. She named her practice Truth Speaks and keeps a framed photo from our Victory Day in her office. It shows Meadow standing tall in her purple dress, the butterfly collar visible, looking like the tiny warrior she became that day. Meadow still sees Garrett once a week under supervision at a court-approved facility. She says he's different now, quieter and more careful with his words. He asks about her school, her friends, her dance classes. He doesn't make promises about ponies or Disney World anymore. "Do you think Daddy learned his lesson?" she asked me after last week's visit. "I don't know, baby. Sometimes people change when they lose everything. Sometimes they just get better at pretending. Either way, you're safe now, and that's what matters." Last night, as I tucked her in, Meadow asked the question I'd been waiting for. "Mom, did I do the right thing in court? Sometimes I feel bad that Daddy got in trouble." I sat on the edge of her bed, smoothing her dark hair. "You told the truth when it was really hard to do. That's not just the right thing, sweetheart. That's the brave thing. And sometimes, telling the truth means people face consequences for their actions. That's not your fault. That's their responsibility." She thought about this for a moment, then smiled. "Mom, I never really wanted a pony anyway. They're a lot of work, and our apartment doesn't have a yard." We both laughed, and in that moment I realized that sometimes the most powerful truth comes from the smallest voices. Meadow had saved us both that day, simply by refusing to keep a secret that wasn't hers to keep. She taught me that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about speaking up even when powerful people want you to stay silent. It's about choosing truth over bribes, integrity over easy rewards. My 8-year-old daughter stood up to her father, his expensive lawyer, and a room full of adults who thought they knew better. She changed everything with one question. Should I tell the judge? The answer will always be yes. Tell the truth. Let it destroy what it needs to destroy. Let it save what it needs to save. Because in the end, the truth is the only thing that sets us free. If this story resonated with you, if you've faced your own battles in family court or know someone who has, please share this video. Your story matters, and you're not alone. Like this video, if you believe in the power of truth, leave a comment with your thoughts or your own experiences. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories of courage, justice, and triumph over those who try to silence us. Together, we're stronger than any lie.